All right, so if we're going to identify the conjugate, what's going to happen, and my people who are online, I'm sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. If we're going to, okay, if we're going to identify the conjugate, then what we're going to do is, test is due by Friday at midnight. If we're going to identify the conjugate, we're going to change the sign of our imaginary number. So that's going to be -2 plus 6i, which is going to be this one. On number 2, it says identify the conjugate of the imaginary number. So I'm going to take the sign and change it. So that's going to be -25i. So if you are trying to find the conjugate, you need to make sure that you switch the sign. Okay? All right. On 3, it's asking you to find the total voltage. Find the total voltage. So that means that I'm going to add V1 plus V2. Well, V1 is 10.13 minus 6.18i plus 9.17 plus 3.82i. Sorry, that's squished. And on this one, all you're going to do is combine like terms. So like terms meaning real and imaginary are like terms. So if I add these two together, I'm really going to get 19.30. This has been corrected on your review. And then I'm going to take -6.18i plus 3.82i, and that's going to give me -2.36i. Okay, don't get caught up in all of this jargon that's up here at the top. They're just trying to confuse you. That's all they're trying to do. Literally just add those two together. Okay? On this one, it says simplify the expression. This is that dividing and simplifying part. So the first thing that you want to do is you're going to multiply by the conjugate. So the conjugate is -15i. And so I'm going to go into my calculator and I'm going to say, all right, 7 times 15. And that's going to give me -105. On the bottom, I'm going to do 15 times 15, which is going to give me -225 I squared. I forgot the I up in the top. So now I'm going to simplify. Well, I have a negative and a negative in the top and the bottom, right? So that makes them both positive. And I got this I squared chilling out here. So I'm going to actually make that -1 and for I squared. And then I'm going to multiply out. So this is going to give me 105i over -225. And both the top and the bottom can be divisible by the same thing. They both can be divisible by 5. Okay, so in the top, I'm going to divide it by 5, and that's going to give me 21. 21i. In the bottom, I'm going to have -225 and divide it by 5, and that's going to give me -45. Well, both of these, aren't they divisible by 3 though? Yeah? Okay, so let me divide both of them by 3. So I'm going to get -7i, and we're going to get 13 in the bottom. Oh, I'm sorry, 15 in the bottom. So that should be answer choice B. If you're ever sitting there and you're like, I don't want to do this in my head, or I don't want to do this out on paper, your calculator does it for you. Watch this magic. All right, so we got 7 in the top. It has to have parentheses around it. Divided by parentheses 15. If I hit second and then decimal, close the parentheses, hit enter, it gives me it in decimal form. It doesn't give me in fraction form, but if I go over here to math and I hit fraction, I literally don't even have to do any math. Okay? So don't overthink it. Check your work, okay? So in order to get that I, you've got to make sure that you hit second decimal, okay? Everybody's like, cheat codes, yay. All right. Another thing on this one, we're going to multiply by the conjugate. So we're going to multiply by negative 6i. So 8 times negative 6i is negative 48i. Negative 5i times negative 6i is going to give me positive 30i squared. Can somebody go let her in really quick? Can you go let her in right there? Thank you, baby. Over here, this is going to give me negative 36i squared. And then I'm going to plug in I squared. I'm going to plug in a negative 1. So this is going to give me negative 48i minus 30 over positive 36. And everything here is divisible by 6. So if I divide everything by 6, I'm going to get negative 5 minus 8i divided by 6. You notice how my answer choices don't look like this, okay? If we break these into two different fractions, I'm going to have negative 5, 6, and if we have 8 and 6, both of them are divisible by 2. So that's going to give me 4/3 I. But again, my answer choices don't look like this. Well, I can pull out a negative out of both of these and make them both positive. Okay? If you're sitting there and you're like, I don't want to do that. I want to check my answers and be done. Guess what? If you type this into your calculator, I bet it will do it for you. You've got to make sure you use parentheses in the top, and you've got to make sure that you use parentheses in the bottom. Okay? Again, this gives me it in like some weird form. So I'm going to hit math, enter, which is going to give me the fraction. And look, it gives me negative 5, 6 minus 4/3 I. Okay? On number 6, we're going to subtract. So you see that subtraction sign in the middle. You want to make sure that you distribute that subtraction sign. So that's going to give you negative 3 minus 2i plus 4 plus 3i. Because remember, we're distributing that negative. Okay? And now I'm going to combine my like terms. So negative 3 plus 4 is going to give us a positive 1. Negative 2i plus 3i is going to give me a positive 1i. And this has already been corrected on your review, but it should be this one. Okay? On number 7, it's talking about area. And back in the day, you learned that area is length times width. So we're going to take our length and multiply it by our width. Now you can do this the FOIL way, or you can do this in the box method. I personally like the box method. So use the box. I've got 5 plus 2i, and then I've got 4 minus 3i. 4 times 5 is going to give us 20. Negative 3i times 5 is going to give us negative 15i. 4 times 2i is going to give us 8i. And negative 3i times 2i is going to give us negative 6i squared. I'm going to take everything that's inside the box and write it out. So 20 plus 8i minus 15i minus 6i squared. And I'm going to substitute in a negative 1 in for that I squared. After I combine my like terms, I'm going to have 20 minus 7i minus 6 times negative 1. So this will become a positive 6 because negative times negative gives us positive. So 20 plus 6 is going to give us 26 minus 7i. on question 9, it asks you to put it into radical form. Okay? So one thing I want you to keep in mind, yesterday we talked about separating this into y to the 7th power raised to the 1/3. And we talked about it earlier, but anything raised to the 1/3 is the cubic root of whatever's inside that parentheses. So it'd be the cubic root of y to the 7th power. Alright, so on question 10, it says simplify the complex number. So you can do this either of two ways. Again, you can put this into your graphing calculator, or you can actually solve it out. So I've got 2 plus 4i over 6 plus 4i. I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate. So 2 times 6 is going to give me 12. 2 times negative 4i is going to give me negative 8i. 4i times 6 is going to give me positive 24i. 4i times negative 4i is negative 16i squared. Over 6 times 6, which is 36. 6 times negative 4i is negative 24i. 4i times 6 is positive 24i. And 4i times negative 4i is negative 16i squared. So then we're going to combine our like terms. So we've got 12 plus 16i minus 16. And remember, we're going to replace that I squared with a negative 1. Over 36, these cancel out. Minus 16 times negative 1. Gonna combine my like terms. And that's going to give me 12 plus 16, which is going to give me 28 plus 16i over 36 plus 16 is going to give us 52. Everything over here is divisible by 4. So I'm going to divide everything by 4. So that's going to give me 7 plus 4i over 13. Notice how this is broken out into two different fractions. That's okay. If you're sitting there and you're like, I don't want to do this by hand, I want to just plug it into my calculator. That's cool too. Go into your calculator and you can type parentheses 2 plus 4i divided by parentheses 6 plus 4i. Close parentheses. Hit enter. Again, that's going to give you the decimal form. Hit math, fraction. Boom, there it is. You should not get these questions wrong. Just to kind of check your work, on question 11, this is the subtraction. So remember, you're going to distribute, and then you're going to simplify. So once you simplify, you're going to get 10 minus 7i. On number 12, remember this is multiplication. A lot of people make mistakes that they distribute to the first one, but they don't do it to the second one. Or they don't do this 3i over to the other ones. So just make sure that you've got your system down. You can use the FOIL method, which is this arrow, or you can use the box method. But you should have gotten 23 plus 2i. Again, still checking your work on this one. You're going to multiply out. So you're going to distribute. Okay, and then you're going to combine like terms. You've got I squared is negative 1. So you'd get 5 plus 12i. For 14, you've got the 5th root of 12 to the 1st power. So remember, anything that's in this little like cubby hole that's right here is going to be the denominator over here for the exponent. And whatever the number is right here, which in this case it's 12 to the 1st power, so that's 1, is going to be the top number that goes over here. So you'll have 12 to the 1/5 power. Okay? So hopefully you did pretty well in your review. If not, go back and watch the videos. But that should have been all 18 questions. Good luck.